I'm CK. Tonight we've got a Bluetooth speaker with LEDs on it. Box is open because I didn't know what it was, so I wanted to check it out, make sure it was not another tool, but it is in fact a kit. I've done another one of these. You can probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. It didn't work, so I'll see if I can get this one together and get this one to work. And I hope you enjoy the video. The box, let's see what it says. It says, oh, this is a MiOYOOW, a MiOYOOW. However you say it, I'm terrible at foreign names, and I apologize for that. Here's the parts list. LED Spectrum FM Bluetooth Audio Speaker DIY Kit. It's got a bunch of stuff. Let's see about LEDs, because that's going to be probably the biggest. They may even be surface mount. Actually, they're not. It looks like there are 4 pink LEDs, 4 blue LEDs, and 4 green LEDs. Huh, interesting. This looks, oh, it's also got a microphone on it. Interesting. And the Bluetooth receiver and a remote and so on. We'll see it all, the bits. Oh, that's nice. Here's a good schematic. Microphone in. Where's the Bluetooth module? Come in. A couple of op amps. LM358s and LM358 and LM358. But where does the Bluetooth come in? Maybe it's the, no, that's the power. Microphone's there. Huh. 5 volts, work current 1.5 amps, dual channel, 3 watt, 4 ohm. 3 watt is pretty good for this type of things. Oh, it's got a radio in it. FM station, automatic radio search. Okay. Huh. Let's see what the pieces look like. Oops. A whole bunch of rolled up shrink wrap. This looks like the 2 speakers. And again, 3 watt is pretty good for kits like this. Usually get half watt, 1 watt. And these look fine. I always look to see whether these are reclaimed. These look like they're new parts, which is nice. Set those to the side. Oops. Of course, they're hanging out with each other. Here are the various cables and the case bits. Got case bits. Oh, here's where the LEDs. It's going to be like a row of LEDs. Various other stuff. Nothing too interesting. Speaker pieces, which probably go in the end. They probably face outward. Power switch and some screws and so on, and a DC connector for DC power, which is here. USB. And then we've got a audio cable. That's nice. Even if I don't use these speakers ever again, I'll put the audio cable somewhere. Use that. I'm going to put the case pieces in their own bin, along with the mechanical pieces. Now, where my scissors go, here's all the electronic bits. So it should have that single chip FM tuner that I've seen in a number of these. So here we've got all the 358s. Those are all op amps, so there are 4 of those. Some resistors, some LEDs, all the different colors. They're not actually marked as to what color they are, but we'll solve that little problem in here in just a second. Here's the circuit board. It's through-hole plated, which these type of kits weren't through-hole plated all that long ago. It looks like everybody's going to it, which is much better than just surface solder pads. And that's nice. I guess they're probably finding it harder and harder to find a board house that doesn't make through-hole plated. So it looks like all the components have their values marked. The diodes are clearly marked as to what position or polarity. The capacitors, the electrolytic capacitors, same thing. So that's nice. Nice little circuit board, a little trimmer pot for something. Power connector maybe, or it may be for speaker. Actually, probably goes to this, and that probably is, no, that wouldn't be power. We'll figure out what that is. It may be the connection between the power connector mounted on the case and the circuit board. And here is already pre-made, which is a little bit of a bummer. Little remote control. Oh, there goes the coyotes. Gosh, he's close tonight. I'm going to see if somebody hollers back to him. Not yet. Oh, it's an all-in-one piece. This is the Bluetooth module and the radio. Got a 24 megahertz chip, crystal that is. I think that's the radio. Actually, that, I don't know. I'd have to look that part number up. I'll see if I can read it well enough. You can see this little squiggle here on the somewhat clear, translucent part of the circuit board. That's the Bluetooth antenna. Various things already put on there, and it's QC Pass, so it theoretically works. And it's got volume, play, pause, volume, mode, and it's got a USB connector if you want to plug in your 2005 iPod. I still have mine. It's got a micro SD card slot, and it's got an aux slot, which is what we can plug this into if we want to go from our modern iPad into this. That looks pretty neat, pretty well done, and connections. This looks like speaker to the board, and this looks like power to this board. So that's pretty cool, even though it's already built, which is not as much fun. Let's see, let's take a look at these LEDs. I was going to do that. Let's take our meter, go to ohms. This is the way it works on a Fluke, at least. Other meters might work differently. And then go to continuity mode, so it'll beep when it senses conductivity. But why I'm using that is because that also means that it's putting a slight amount of current through the probes, so it can sense continuity. So I'll put my red probe on one side, my positive probe on the long leg, negative probe. Oh, that's a purple one. It's kind of cute, kind of violet, which is probably what that symbol means. I'm going to mark these for my own good right now. V for violet, because we don't have any other conflicting V's like vermilion. See what this color is. This is slippery is what this is. That's blue. Yeah, you don't want to keep the probes on it too long, because as you can see, there's no current limiting resistors. So you could damage the LEDs. It's unlikely, but just get in and get out. Just see if they... You can also do this to make sure they all work. I am not that concerned about whether they work in the end or not, so I'm not going to check all of them before I install them, but you can do this with your meter real handy. Also, where's my... The other thing you can use is your LED buddy. I got this from Velleman Wada. I picked it up from jamco.com, and as it says, little LED buddy. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so you can see it better. If you haven't seen this, I have a video of putting this together. I'll try and remember to put a link. Now we're going to put the LED on these two silver pads on the end. And you can see that's green. It's taking 3.1 volts, 26 milliamps, and you would use an 82 ohm inrush resistor or current limiting resistor at 5 volts, which is what we're pumping into it. So that's 3.1 volts for the green. Let me show you what the blue should need more than that. But let's see. Yeah, the blue's taking 3.2, same current. And why do I keep picking up those screws? And violet, I don't know what violet LEDs, I don't know what their power needs are. Let's take a look. And with this little thing, you can go through a bunch of LEDs fast if you want to check everything for a project. 3.1 volts, that's not too bad. Okay. So that's all the bits and pieces. Looks like actually, because this is all pre-made, it'll probably be less of an issue to put together than the last one of these that had a little daughter board that was all cattywampus and was difficult to get to work right. In fact, I didn't get that one to work right. But I'll get the soldering iron heated up and we'll start putting this one together. I brought up the build guide. Let's take a look at it. It tells you what it is. It tells you the parameters. Shows you how to use it, which is always nice. Here's the component list. The schematic that we already had. Telling you how to do stuff. Please be patient. So this is the text instructions. And then I believe, yeah, okay, there'll be some pictures here. Here's a complete picture. That's good to have. Oops, don't slide away from me, little fella. And here we have step 1, onward. Whoa. There we go. Step 1 onward, all spelled out very, very simply, and showing you where everything goes, so that'll be very handy. So as is typical, we start with the resistors. We'll get the 510 ohm. That's interesting. So where's the green? Oops, diode almost evacuated the area. Get back in the bin. Let's put 1 on the board to see how the board takes solder. Where is my solder anyway? Here's a piece. Oh no, here's the piece I was looking for. We'll try the little guy at, I don't know, R5. Bend the legs down. And just for me, as a habit, I always put the resistors with the high value facing right or up, depending on how the... Sorry, I'm adjusting my microphone. It got crazy. Depending on how they're oriented, that's so I can easily see what it is. Just glancing, I don't have to see if I'm looking at it the wrong way. So let's see how well this board takes solder. Always an important step. to let you know what techniques you might have to modify, but this is working just fine. Let me trim that off. So that's it about resistors, because all the rest of them are going to be pretty much the same as the first one. And not much commentary to include. So what we're going to do is turn the commentary down and speed up the playback and probably cut some of it out, because it's time for you to be able to enjoy resistor time. That's resistor time for this kit. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Pretty straightforward. Not too many of them. Now we're going to put the two diodes on, and the diodes have a black line on them indicating where the cathode is. On the board you'll see 3 white lines on the diode symbol, and the black stripe goes where the 3 white lines are, to make sure we've got the polarity right. Because if we don't have the polarity right on a diode, well, then the electricity can't go where it's supposed to go. I'm not going to solder those guys real quickly right at this moment, because I'm going to put the IC sockets on. I forgot to mention the ICs, because he doesn't actually, or whoever authored the kit, doesn't actually call out the ICs. Oh, there they are. They're LM358s, which are op-amps, operational amplifiers. Oh, now we're going to put the LEDs on. Oh, and we're going to bend them out. Okay. So we're going to take, now what colors do they want? Why do they do it that way? Oh. Oh, I see. So the colors are going to be going out from the center. So the pink or violet will go in the middle. And how far out do we want to lead? He doesn't say how far out to bend these. I guess it's just, he looks like it's just going up against the edge of the circuit board. So not too, we don't have to have them hanging out in space while we're doing this. And we're going to do D2, D3, D4, and D5. And the long lead goes in the hole that's got the plus sign by it. And I'll kind of bend it like that. Now we're going to do 2 blues on each side. Before I trim those leads, I'll put the green ones on. Now we're going to do the 4.7 microfarad cap, 63 volts. That's pretty good. And the long lead goes in the one marked with the plus sign, and this also, they want us to lay this down somewhat like that. I'm going to put the other electrolytic down, same way. And now we'll do our 104s. These should be 104s. I'm assuming that's what they are. Yeah, these are 104s. Now, while we're here, we may as well pop the microphone on. It is polarized, and there's no marking to show which side is which, but the circle is such that the only way you can put it on appropriately gets the polarity correct. And then we've got a trimmer that we'll put on the back. They want that on the back, huh? Okay. Why does that leg, oh, that leg looks awful bent. So that's on the back, so we can make, I don't know whether that's going to be volume or tuning sensitivity. Now at this point, he'd like us to put the op amp marks, op amps on, but I'm not going to do that yet because I don't like to put ICs in until we've got all the componentry and everything soldered on the board. Now we want to put install one piece wire at CZ on the PCB back. So we've got I'm assuming they mean one of these matched connectors, not this free wire, and I think this all goes, I think these will all go here, so I'll keep those three together, and I'll put this one on. And there's a plus sign for the red wire and a minus sign for the black wire. And I'm going to get a pair of locking tweezers, which I always have handy, and just grip the wires like that between the wire and the circuit board so that I can solder those two pieces of wire without them jumping around on me. And I think we're done with this board. Okay, we're done with this board. So I will put the ICs in. They're all the same. So the notches are all correct. All the pins are in their correct slots, and no pin is bent, and they're all fully down. So that board is done. And I gotta go feed the cats, so we'll move on to the next bit after I do that. Now we're into the final stages of putting this fella together. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the speaker wires on the speakers. Let me flip my thing around to where I have the slit. Tuck that in there. Tuck it in there further. There we go. Oops. Don't fall over. That's defeating the purpose pretty much. I'll get it figured out. Just hang tight. Now there's a little solder on the speaker pads right now, so I'm not going to use the little hole. I'm just going to sink this wire into the existing solder. Clean my solder tip. Just heat it up a little bit, and the solder will melt. Should melt. It is. And I'll get the wire in there. Try and get the wire in there. Here it goes, red wire to the plus, and black wire to the minus, so we don't get phase issues with the speakers. Which is not generally a problem for mono speakers, but if you're doing a stereo thing, you want to make sure that you've got the phase right. There we go. Now that's ready. Two speakers are ready. Now off camera I did I peeled all the protective film off the acrylic pieces because you would not find that particularly interesting to observe. Now we're going to get the power connector, which I put somewhere. I may not have taken it out of its bag. I didn't. Actually, let me get a parts tray for all these little mechanical pieces. Make sure we don't have a screw stuck in the power connector, because that happens. And then we're going to match the picture with the I want to make sure, oh, that's they have a different connector. Okay. Interesting. The connector that comes with the kit currently is different than the connector that they show in the pictures. You got to be a little careful getting this screw on because it's metal going around plastic. And I'll tighten it, but I'm not going to tighten it a whole lot. Just snug it down. Because again, it would be relatively easy to strip that little socket thing. Let me flip this back over. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Next step, now we're going to put the power switch in. It's got little, you can see it's got little collapsible wings on the side that will make it clip in. I will exercise them a couple of times with my needle nose to make sure they're not too stiff. Then we will put that in with the two lugs low down by where the power connector is, and now we'll push this through, and it worked. Good. Sometimes that can work badly. Now we're going to, with the wire they gave us, we're going to take about 3 centimeters of the wire and connect to the pin. Now the question is, which pin? I'm going to make an assumption that this bottom one. It actually doesn't much matter, but I'm going to make the assumption that the bottom lug and will go to the positive. So the instructions say to cut about 3 centimeters to go from hither to yon, and that looks like a lot more than 3 centimeters. Well, actually it doesn't. Let's see. Well, 3 centimeters would be like out to here, and that would be too much. I'm going to go with 2 centimeters. About. I'm not trying to measure this we need this wire for some later stuff, which we'll see, so that's why I'm not getting rid of it. Let me see if my Knipexes can turn this. Oh yeah, beauty. Now what I'm going to do to facilitate getting this all put together in comfort, I'm going to... I just changed my mind. What did I just do with the wire I just cut? There it is. I'm going to wind them between the two, and that should have enough tension that I'm able to keep the wire still so I can solder it. Now, just to be sure, because being sure is the basis of a happy electronical life, I'm going to make sure I have put the meter in continuity mode, and I'll make sure I'm getting a reading from this pin. Yep. Now we're going to take the long wire. Oh, we're going to take one of these 10 centimeter with a little connector on the end. Let's see if this is actually 10 centimeter. Because I was... See, that's not 10 centimeter. That's 15 centimeters. Do we have a 10? I don't think so. No. So I could clip it, but I'm not gonna. Maybe this was the 10 centimeter. No, that's 15 centimeters also. So now we're gonna connect everything up so the switch is in line with the power, so the switch is breaking or making the power as is needed. And that's the power connector and the on-off switch. Next we're going to do this, which is interesting. As I said, as I pointed out on this one, the Bluetooth radio is there, but they don't have an FM wire. And so we're FM antenna. So we're going to put this on the bottom, and it's going to go from this hole and then kind of inward. It's not attached at the other end. What is this? That's a little microphone. There's a little microphone right there. Little bitty guy. Huh. But it doesn't go through the front. And then here is the infrared sensor for the remote. Now, they guide us to do 3 centimeters. So that's the FM antenna. Now we're going to fix it through the other panel that now I've got stuff piled on because I moved that and I moved that and I did that. But we'll find it. So we want to make sure we get this correct. I'm going to put this through like so. Goes through pretty well. There's no slop. That's nice. And we'll take, what are we taking? We are taking M3 by 6 millimeter screws. M3 by 6. That's not an M3. That's too thin. And they are not countersunk, are they? That's by 6, but it could be this one. No, that's countersunk too. They're all countersunk. Okay. Put one of those through there, grab one of the nuts. Because we've got diameter M2 and M3 in this kit. Now cut the plug from the board. Really, you want me to cut the plug from the board. We want to cut the He wants us to wants us to cut the plug from the LED board. Because we're not using it. I thought we were. Why aren't we using this plug? I mean, you got a plug on the board, buddy. Why am I not using it? Does the one they used not have a... I'm looking ahead trying to see. It does have it. Why am I cutting the plug off? I'm doing it the way you say instructions. I don't know why, but I'm going to do it. And that's the two boards connected. Get these pieces of solder in the trash. I mean, insulation in the trash. Now we're going to put the little feet on the LED board. Okay, so we're going to end up somewhat like this when we get later on. And I think it's a good time to recycle the cameras because I think they're going to run out of power in just here a second. Next step, we're going to mount the LED board on this piece. Actually, not this piece, because this piece must be the top piece because it's got no screw mount holes. There we go. So we're going to mount it like that, I believe. So the LEDs will be sticking out the back. See, it goes up against the rear part of it. So now we're going to use 2 more M3 screws. Of course, if you're not familiar, M3 simply is the diameter. That just means they're 3 millimeters in diameter. And as you can see, the trimmer pokes out a little square aperture in the bottom. Now we're going to put the speakers on their little grill piece, on their little grill pieces of plastic. I do not know, so they're considering the ones with the holes kind of the top-ish. And now we're going to start putting things together. I'm going to put one speaker over here and do this whole captive nut thing, or captive screw thing, which is probably the most frustrating part to me of putting together these kits. We take the little screw, and I'm going to do it this way because I can, because I'm just starting out at this section, and put the screw a little bit on. Actually, I did that wrong because I'm silly. I will put it through the speaker panel and screw it on somewhat. Then we'll go over here and get it inserted in there. Up, I screwed it in just a little bit too much. Back it off a little bit. There we go. And now we just want this snug, they say. We don't want to go crazy on this just yet. Yep. Don't go crazy on it because it keeps slipping loose. Again, this particular part of these project boxes that many of these companies make is the most frustrating. I find chasing those screws all around just a problem. And we'll do the same thing with the other one, with the other side. This is going to be kind of over here. Okay, we've got the two speakers connected. And now we're going to get the LEDs and everything else through the other panel and mount that up front. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get all the LEDs aligned with their holes. And that'll take a little doing. And there we go. We got all the LEDs poking through. And I'm going to put the speakers back on in a minute here, but first I'm going to trap all this in here so I don't have to muss with that again. Okay, there's that. Now we're going to plug the speakers into these two connectors here. And we're going to take the other board we already built up. Where did that put it? There it is. And we're going to do roughly the same thing again. Let me get I'm going to put screws in all of those. You say keep it on a little loosely to put the top on, but I just don't want it to fall over. Now we're going to put the part that we connected to the power switch and so on into this connector. Oops, support the board a little bit. There we go. And now we can put the top on. One more thing. Got two caps to cover those screw heads. Okay, that's the way she looks. Now I'm going to reconfigure the cameras a little bit, and I'll be back in just a second to turn this thing on. I'll try not to get in the way of the camera here. Now I'm going to make sure the power is off, going to plug the power connector in. It's not great. It doesn't fit great, does it? Took a bunch of effort. Now we'll power it up. Now we'll power it up. Let me see if there's a power button here. Why is it not powering up? Well, time to start seeing why it's not working. First I'm going to see if we got some power in here, but I'm going to need to get a couple of pieces of wire. Well, I'm showing 5 volts. Actually, I'm showing negative 5 volts. So it's backwards. My connections down at the switch are backwards. So I think instead of going back in there and resoldering that, I'm going to cheat and just switch the wires up here, and I'm going to turn off the cameras to do that because it's not that interesting, and I'll show you the result when I get done. Rewired. Again, I just switched, as you can see here from the top camera, I switched the black to the red and the red to the black. Again, I don't know what step I did wrong there. I can go back and look at it, or you may be able to see it. So now we'll try turning it on. Got lights, got the LEDs starting up. It's set up to aux because I've got the iPad plugged in for that. And as you can see, this is what the microphones are doing. When I'm talking, the LEDs are coming on. I'll turn this upwards too because I'm not sure if the other camera is picking it up. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we'll try playing something. Oops, I have to plug the aux cable in. That would help a lot. That sounds pretty good. But you can see the LEDs are flatlining full high because the volume's up. I'm going to use the remote to lower the volume. Now it's making the LEDs dance, but I can't really hear the music. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, let's try another mode. Let's go to FM. This is Bluetooth. I'm not going to try that. There's FM, and we're going to scan. So the FM works, the aux works, we saw that. We've got, that's the aux again. That's the Bluetooth. I'm not going to try that. The only thing that's not making me happy is the LEDs are just flatlining. Maybe that's what this trimmer is for. Yeah, that's what this trimmer is for. I'm going to check the focus on this side camera and kick it, the tripod, of course. So that's the way it works. And by adjusting that trimmer, you adjust the sensitivity of the lights. So that's it. Nice little speaker set. Again, I'm not sure what I did wrong on setting up the power correctly, and you can see the lights are still dancing because it hears my voice. But relatively easy to fix if you find that to be an issue too. Relatively easy assembly. If you're doing this with one of your youngsters, I really recommend you help with putting the case together, because the case on these is often the most frustrating part, to get the captive nuts caught in the plastic grooves and so on. But overall, a fine little kit and sounds good, and I hope you enjoyed the video.